So for those that aren't with us tonight, this is the session with Adele Pope. Thank you so much. Adele's going to be talking to us tonight along the lines of digital empathy, which is something that we do a lot of, and not just as mentors for ABTA, with everything. I think like we're all communicating digitally now. Be nice to have a bit more empathy, I think, in general life. So I will pass over to Adele. Welcome. Thank you.
Thanks very much, Maria. Hello, everyone. Can you hear me? Excellent. Just brief introduction. I'm a clinical psychologist. I work in both the LGBTQI space and the perinatal space. I have my own lived experience of trauma and loss in the birth and perinatal space, and it really affirmed my decision to want to do more, know more, and serve more in this place. I love what I do. I get very passionate, and yeah, if we're a dinner party, I would annoy you about all of the things that need to be done and are yet to be done. So I thought tonight, because it is for me the end of a pretty long day, and I've got two sleeping humans in the next room. I thought what might be nice is to find out from you. I mean, I can sort of start with some of the stuff that I have learned in the digital space. We all had to have a really stiff and swift learning curve, swift learning curve and stiff drink, I think I needed in the first few months of COVID to really establish, how do we show empathy with that level of disconnection? How do we help people that are in such desperate need when suddenly there is this huge gulf between us? And it took a lot of practice. So I just want to know from, I can see Enandi's name and Ellen, and is it Rai?
Sorry, it should be Lisa. I just clicked, it already came up. That was right, but it's Lisa.
Lisa, okay, excellent. Yeah, I do like the branding of Rai though. It's just like Rai. So what's the main format that you all interact in the peer work space? Lisa?
Oh, I've only done the chat once, and I found it quite overwhelming. Okay. And I struggled with typing quick enough, and then I found I was typing stuff and then deleting it because I was worried in case it was read a different way than I write it. So then I meant it, sorry. Yeah, and I didn't know how to I was just worried in case things come across wrong or sarcastic. Not sarcastic, but yeah, really tricky. I really struggled. So what I've been doing, I've been going through the old chats and making a Word doc of some ideas of what other people said. So in case I get stuck, I think, oh, how can I, like, I've got the 6 things we need to do is connect and validate, and I'm just writing in some things there just in case I get stuck, because yeah, I didn't want that like dead air on radio, but no, not typing. Yeah.
Okay.
So yeah, I struggled with it, to be honest.
I picked up the word overwhelmed, right?
Yeah.
And that is so common, because sometimes it feels like someone's just opened the floodgates and you're literally the only person there. And I want you to know that what you're doing, one, is absolutely the right thing to do. It's really good practice to look over what you've done before and go, okay, how can I improve? You know, what are sort of regular things that come to me, and how can I finesse my response? I absolutely love that. And we're going to talk a little bit more about what to do with those feelings of being overwhelmed, because it's beautiful what you're doing, right? What's happening is you're responding naturally, and then of course we have that judgment phase of us that says, oh, hang on, here's 50 ways they could interpret that, and here's 50 ways I could hurt this person that I'm trying to actually help.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's look, that's actually really the core of human empathy, right? You want to make sure that you're talking to you're talking to the person, to their pain in a way that they can tolerate without exacerbating that pain.
Yeah.
So you're on the right track, Lisa. So well done.
Good.
Ellen, what about you? What's it like for you? And what's your normal kind of way of interacting?
So chat as well, and this is quite new to me because I'm studying to be a counselor and a life coach, and most of my interactions have been face to face or on Zoom. I find with Zoom, it's like being in a face to face situation anyway. For me, that's how I feel. I've done a little bit of over the phone counselling before, but yeah, I found the chat to be a little bit challenging for me. Again, just trying to find the right words to say. And also because it's in a different, I'm in a mentor role and I'm sharing my, my own experience is something you don't generally do in the counseling space, or don't divulge too much of your personal information. So I find it challenging kind of working between each of those roles and trying to find a happy medium, and again say the right things in the right way so as to not offend the other person, because I'm quite conscious of the language that I use. I like to think I'm very casual. I can be quite direct as well, so I have to tailor my approach. I'm a little bit more warm and fuzzy, I feel, when I'm chatting, I've noticed.
For you, the first thing I really picked up is the right way. What is the right way? So there's some underlying perfectionistic traits. So of course you're going into the mental health space. So, welcome. Neurotic and perfectionistic, you are with your people. Yes. I also picked up from you both, Lisa, you said about not wanting to come across as sarcastic, and for Ellen, it's not coming across as too direct. So I imagine that in your kind of personal lives, that's your humour, or that's what you tend to rely on, either being very direct and being very logical for you, Ellen, or perhaps being really quite sarcastic and light for you, Lisa. Is that right? Or because there's that worry there that might come through for you when you're interacting?
Oh, I don't think I'm normally sarcastic. I don't know if that's the right word, but I've just got one friend that I find when I text, she never understands what I write and she takes offense when none of my other friends do. And then I just worry in case I got that person on the other end. And I don't want, so yeah. So
it's you overvaluing a data set, a sample size of one. Which is a beautiful thing, because if it doesn't gel with one person, it makes sense that you think, oh, maybe that thing that person picks up is also potentially going to be picked up by another person. That's great. So yeah, like you're showing beautiful compassion and empathy, and ownership, right? Of ownership of the space, because the other thing I would go back to is people are coming to you because you have lived experience. Like, that is why you're in this role. So I absolutely understand, Ellen, that there is that reluctance to share that, because in the professional space, quite correctly, that's not it's not expected, anticipated, or often even welcome, that the therapist is bringing their sort of intimate experience to it. They're bringing their professional experience to it. However, it really is, some people have little tics that they do when they're in a particular space. Like when I'm on Zoom, I always have a candle. So that's how I know that I'm still in a professional space and still in a calming space. And I don't know what it does, but it's how it seems to help. I dug it up during COVID and I'm not letting it go. It really is important to have that place in time, right? And just go, right, when I'm in this place, this is the thing that separates me. So when you're in the peer workspace, there is going to be that understanding, that shared understanding, and that freedom to share, and creating that separation for you. So well done. Like, you guys, you've got so many of the attributes. You've already got the attributes. That's why you're here, right? That's why you're up at 8 o'clock when obviously we all want to be face down somewhere. In Undy? Am I saying that right? Inandi or Inandi?
Yeah, hi, yes, Inandi.
Inandi,
You're
hi.
right. Yeah, hi. I said to Maria, I'm mostly listening in just because I'm multitasking, but I'm still good. I'm still training as well.
Mm-hmm.
So I haven't really done any online sessions as such, but well, I've done some work in teaching through Zoom as well a year ago. And part of it, I think, is just, well, I was dealing with different cultures. And I think that is one thing that even in this space is something that you can come across. So I think it's more important than ever to realize that your words are actually so important, much more than just saying something and having context, because you don't have that. You just have that space of words, and that's all you can use. So the person can't see your face, cannot hear your tone of voice. So I think this is one of the things that it's pretty important to realize, okay, you know, culture is there, maybe different, or upbringing, morals, all these sorts of things. There can be a bit of a challenge as well. So therefore, I think the wording, and I think one of the ladies said that as well, the wording is pretty important, and you want to be able to know that you're helping the person in the right way, and that they're not going to take your words the wrong way.
And so I think yeah, exactly. It's always about that right way. It's about connecting, and it's making that person feel safe in Nandi, and acknowledging their culture, and acknowledging that you might view a problem a certain way, or you might view a situation a certain way. Look, when we're not in the weeds, everything's clear. And I, you know, so often in the work that I do, you'll sit with someone for an hour, and then in the last 10 minutes you'll say, you know, it seems that this is happening. Like, my God, I never saw it. I'm like, yeah, because I'm not over there experiencing the operational costs of what you're going through. Like, I haven't, you know, it's not magic. It's outside. You know, it's actually having some clarity. And so when we think about the words that we use, first of all, I wanted to start with a quote that I absolutely love. It's by Carl Jung, and I write it down because one day, because I'm too old to memorize things, and it talks about loneliness, and his quote is, "Loneliness does not come from having no people about you, but from being unable to communicate the things that seem important to oneself, or holding certain views which others find inadmissible." And I don't think there's anything, honestly, in this gendered world that we live in, where motherhood is praised and also ignored, and the birth process is, well, everybody does it. People do it in fields, so shut up. There's nothing more alienating and more isolating than holding onto a baby and having had a traumatic birth experience, and everyone telling you, well, look, you've got a healthy baby, so, you know, you've got to go home and be happy now, even though you might have prolapse, even though you might have PTSD, even though you might not have any sensation in places that you previously had sensation. And I know we focus on the right way, and we focus on you know, the influx of words and what impact we're going to have. What we often don't focus on in that time and space is just being there is so necessary, and so it tells people that the words that, as Lisa said, it's overwhelming, right? When we feel that feeling of overwhelming, that is the time to stop and breathe. And always, you know, sometimes I will, you know, with my early training, I would write down my stuff, their stuff, or my stuff, your stuff. Because what's happening when we feel overwhelmed like that, Lisa, is usually, oh gosh, if that had happened to me, and I'm putting myself, because it's overusing your empathy in that way. It's a beautiful thing, right? Or we're picking up down the line and going, oh gosh, I remember some of that happening to me. I remember that feeling of being dismissed. I remember having that postpartum hemorrhage. I remember the scared looks on the doctors' and nurses' faces. I remember not being able to hold my baby, right? So even though we feel overwhelmed, you know, that for me is the time to go, hang on, this is my response to someone else's trauma. And this might be the first place that this person has really felt, oh my gosh, I finally found, someone's put the words together, Australian Birth Trauma Association, which if you have been taught through intergenerational, I call it kind of intergenerational sneering. Oh, your grandmother had 5 kids and, she didn't care. Okay, great. Good on you, Grandma. So we kind of have all of these myths that roll up into us feeling ashamed. And, when that overwhelmed feeling comes in, that's the time to go, okay, what are the words coming out? What are the words that have I guess triggering is a word we often use. What are the words that have been really frightening for you? Lisa, I'm going to go back to you.
Oh, yeah. When I say overwhelmed and triggering, it wasn't about trauma. It was about, I don't know what to write. It's about, because I thought about volunteering and I thought about all my traumas, but I didn't relate to the person who I had my first and only chat to. So then I was a bit like, oh, I wasn't prepared for this really. So I just couldn't, I just didn't know what to say really.
Yeah.
And yeah, I advised her to go to the Facebook group, but then I was thinking, oh, is that enough? And then I was just thinking about if I ring up somewhere with a complaint and then they just tell me to go and ring someone else, I'm like, oh, I need to write something else that's good. And then I struggled.
Yeah. And I hear it, like that's beautiful emotion that's coming through, because that tells me that you've kind of supplanted yourself. How would I feel in this situation? Which is feeling the feeling. Okay, so there's the kind of 3 types of empathy. There's cognitive empathy, which is the first step. What is it that someone is trying to address? Where is the pain? And then there's the emotional sharing in that emotion. And it sounds like that's what's happened. Oh gosh, if this had happened to me, I would feel dismissed, and I never want to do that to a person in pain. And sometimes it's nice to just own it and go absolutely human and say, hey, I know that if I was asking for help right now and someone asked me to consult a Facebook page, I might feel dismissed. I want you to know that these are the best resources that we have for you.
Yeah.
Do you still feel safe? Do you still feel, do you still feel heard? Because we are actual human beings in the most human of spaces. And I love that you bring in your own experience. And I think if I was in that place and I was saying, just help me, and someone said, hey, you know what, I hear this, and it's not, the most honest thing you can say is, I hear you, and here's what I can do, not I hear you, go over there.
Yeah.
But I think you're hearing it as, I hear you, go over there.
Yeah, it's not something I would normally say. Like if I'm chatting with friends, I think friends like to chat to me.
What would you say?
My friends always say I'm really good to talk to because they know I'll keep everything confidential. But I think I'm normally quite quiet when my friends talk to me, and they just end up talking because they can see that I'm listening. And so yeah, totally different strategy doing a live chat.
Is that
sorry, Adele.
I guess my first response is why? Why not just say, hey, do you want to tell me more about that? It sounds like it's a lot for you. Because if you're normally quiet, then it can come through.
I was going to say, Lisa, one of my best chats actually a year or so ago was literally like 45 minutes. And I think I typed maybe 3 times, I'm still here, I'm still listening, take your time. And then I think I might have validated at one point and just said, that must have been really, really hard for you. And the rest was the other person. It was literally just the other person feeling like they had all the time in the world with me to tell their story, to not have somebody think, oh gosh, this again, or all the thoughts that we feel when we're telling our stories, and you think you're burdening somebody else because they're busy. She really felt like I had, and I did, have all the time in the world for her to type out her story. And I just typed out that line, I'm still here, keep going, I'm still here, don't rush, take your time, I'm listening. And that's all I put throughout, and she just kept going and going. And that must have been so hard. And then at the end, she was like, this has been the best thing. I didn't do anything.
Yeah.
I didn't refer her. I didn't share my experience. I didn't try and fix anything for her. I just gave her a safe space. And that's, I truly believe that's what we need to do for people, because that's what we didn't have. So that's what they need.
That's right. You don't get the chance to tell your story because people feel uncomfortable and try and look on the bright side of life, and so you can't continue. So it's a good idea. Just let people talk.
Remember, they're talking to a human being, and and sorry, Maria, I didn't ask you your story before, but of course because I was like, oh, she's the moderator. I beg your pardon. I'll be more inclusive and mindful. Exactly what Maria said. Some of the best sessions I have had have been an hour of me not talking, and they are long hours and they are successful, because if you're a quiet person, if you're a person that just says, look, I can't solve this for you, but I'm going to let you just leave some of this here, then that's who they're interacting with. Okay, if you are a really direct, hey, I'm just wondering if I've heard this from you, and I'm wondering if you've tried this, then that's what they're going to get. Because if it doesn't feel natural, then it is probably not therapeutic for anybody. If you're feeling uncomfortable when you're saying, hey, here's the website, then you're going to be left with this feeling of incompleteness. And therapy is completeness. Therapy is saying, hey, do I understand the problem? So I'm hearing that when you were in hospital and there was this, you walked into that hospital with all of that expectation. And look at the words that they've written, right? I went into that hospital and I was there for 6 hours and nobody talked to me. And then this nurse came in and she had a look on her face and I knew she was mad. And then someone told me to shut up. And then someone sent my husband home. And then the baby came too quick, like all of these things. And then you say, I am hearing that you had hope when you walked in and that you really wanted something different and that didn't happen for you. And that's it's not going to everything. That's not acknowledging that, yep, sometimes nurses can look, that's not arguing with the problem. It's saying, I hear you, right? That's the loneliness of birth trauma. That's loneliness of all trauma, is people saying, if we can look all across the spectrum, right? What was she wearing when she was assaulted? You know, all of these things, but you've got a baby, away you go home. We're so used to that language of reduction. When someone gives you the language of expansion, I heard the important bits in your rant, and it might have been a rant, right? I heard what you're saying is you really wanted your husband there and they sent you home. I'm so sorry. I can absolutely hear that has been something that, even though you really love your child and you love this experience, that you wish it was better. Of course. And so that you're holding on, I love using the words, when you said X, I felt this, which reinforces the human connection. So when we were talking, Ellen was talking about not always wanting to share your own experience, of course, because you're learning a different path in counselling, of course. So sometimes it's a great idea to really use the words, hey, I just want to say, wow, I'm so glad we've met today. I love that sort of stuff. I'm so glad we found each other, like lots of we stuff. And when you said, I just wanted to hold my baby and no one let me, I felt a real sharp pain in my heart as well. Just actually saying, you said this, I felt this. And then people know, that they're safe to say things that probably other people turn their back on, push them away, tell them it's too much, tell them you're so lucky, you're so strong, you're so brave, that they're tired of hearing, because being lucky, strong and brave has not protected them from birth trauma. You know, all these people, you know, should think positively. You know, that takes away from the experience, because there is a big difference between empathy and sympathy.
Sorry, Adele, I just let you know I did get that 10-minute warning pop up.
Gosh, they're
I know,
so
it's
mean.
gone so quick. It always does.
Gosh, I'm just going to, if it's okay, I want to share a little video that talks about the difference between empathy and sympathy, which sounds like I coordinated this, but I really didn't. So just hang on, I'm going to share I think I can share my screen. I'm pretty sure I can. It does say I can. Share screen. Is that it? Google Chrome? No, Adele, wrong one. I've got 1,000. That's it. Oh, it's not kidding. 8 minutes and 52. How long is this? Mother of God, come on. No. Yeah, rarely can a response make something better. What makes things better is connection. I don't know, have you guys seen this? Oh gosh.
No, it's not playing for me, Adele.
Oh, is it not?
No.
Oh, that's so rude. No. You can't see this? No one? Shake heads. Ah, so rude. All right. Well, I was going to outsource my brilliance to Brene Brown, but afraid not. Hang on, where am I? Can people see me still? Oh, good. Okay. Really what it was talking about was...
I can definitely share that link, Adele, if you want to email it to me.
I will. It's just a lovely little 2-3 minute video, and it beautifully encapsulates the difference, because, you know, when we focus on the right thing, you know, I always think, okay, let's focus on the content, not the intent. I'm a simple creature. I like to have really simple binaries that I go to. Focus on the content, not the intent. So, because the intent is often what we put upon it. So when someone comes through and says, I hate, you know, I'm hating motherhood. I can't believe that my journey was taken away from me. Everything sucks. And, you know, what'll often happen is we'll get quite frightened, because they're saying things that are, you know, that mean that everything's lost and everything's broken and there's no way back. But the content is, I'm pissed off. Like, I think I deserved better, and I would want to. So they're talking about loss. They're talking about walking in with hope and walking out with a baby and confusion. And I think anyone who comes to the birth trauma space can share that and say, you know, it's wonderful that you know, I totally understand that you had, you know, you had a birth plan, you know, you trusted the system, and, you know, everyone's telling you, you've just got to love this baby and it'll be fine. And they're not hearing you. I hear you. I'm here. And then just let them go. Just keep creating that space. Because, you know, when people say you should talk to someone, like when we were talking about these are that refer on, and referring to the website, when you think, oh gosh, I've actually gotten to the limit of who I am, or how much I can help this person, that's great as well, right? Because you're saying, you know what, I've heard what I can, and I've taken everything I can, and I've done my best. I've reflected back. I've been positive. I've said, when you said this, I felt this. Is that what you feel too? Yeah, I hear that. And when it's getting to the point where they're like, where it's getting too much, or you're feeling like, you're like, you know what, I really think that we have more resources for you. I know we have more resources for you. Would you like to know more about that? Right? Because then you're actually asking for permission. When you ask people the question, hey, you know what, I'm just one person here, and I am so delighted that I've heard your story, and I'm so grateful to have been part of this with you. I do know we have more resources. Would you like to hear more about that? You're giving people the opportunity. You're being honest about your limitations, because we all have them, thank goodness, because no one can just be a sponge for empathy forever. We all have to have our own stuff. But knowing that actually being there, the words don't, they matter. The response matters in some way, but what matters is that a human being typed it. I cannot tell you, having been through my own experience of birth trauma and being a professional, just knowing that someone else gave a tiny bit of a shit for a minute about this thing that feels so enormous and scary and weird to me, it changes everything. I hope that that's helpful. I know I've only got 4 minutes left, but I'd love to hear it if you guys have any questions or comments for me.
I just wanted to say, well, first off, thank you. That was fantastic. I'm kind of hanging on every word you say, Adele. But I guess I'm in a bit of a privileged position because I get to see the feedback that the consumers leave for the mentors. And I've started throughout this week, and I know you're probably all sick of my spam, but just posting the little, not sound bites, but snippets of the feedback back, and just to even see how well it's received via the text type service that we use. Like, I know it's not for everybody, and I know sometimes it's difficult to convey that empathy, because for me especially, it's a lot of mine comes from facial expressions and body language. There's nothing there, but I just want everyone to know that it's not lost on the people that you have your chats with. Like, the feedback tells me that this is still a wonderful, wonderful support service, and people really appreciate it. People appreciate that they've got somewhere to write this stuff down, because often this is the first time they've even thought about it and told somebody the whole story.
Yeah.
So yeah, I just want everybody to know that, you might not feel like you're giving the best kind of service or empathy, but absolutely it's in the words, it's there.
I've worked with people with eating disorders who seem so malnourished that they have absolutely no capacity to hear you. And when they are well, they say they heard every word. You never, ever, it's a great line of a song that says, every little piece of your life means something to someone. And in this space, it is absolutely meaningful. The fact that you are writing those words and listening to those stories is so important. And the fact that you're showing up on a Wednesday night when goodness knows we're all tired says a lot about you.
Thanks again, Adele. It's been wonderful. I hope everybody's enjoyed it. I'm going to stop the recording because we're going to run out of time in like 10 seconds. But I will pause the recording up for everyone. And Adele, I'll send you a link to the recording also.
Okay. Good night, everyone.
Thanks so much.
Such a pleasure.
Bye.
Take care. Bye.
Take care. Bye.